Hi, George Macallister here, founder of the Alpha Institute and author of Wholesaling is Not Rocket Science. We are now in the final quarter of the year. And what are you doing? What are you doing right now to finish up big? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a plan to finish this year up really big? I always used to put a plan together. I wholesaled for 10, 11 years, I think, and then I was a financial advisor for an equal period of time. And at this time of the year, it was obvious. It was time now to make a big push. A lot of business gets done in financial services in the last quarter, right? So I would always create some sort of a strategy to pull off a big year end. If I could do that, there had to be some kind of a plan. So the question is, what do you have? Do you have a plan right now? Do you have an idea? If you do, that's great. Maybe you'll get something out of this beyond that to boost that idea. If not, let's create one right now. Let's create an idea that'll help you make a run for year end and finish up really, really big. So when I used to do this, I used to think of three issues to help myself create a plan. Number one is, who is it that's going to contribute to this push? Who's going to bring in the money for me to finish up big? So number one, who are the players? Number two, exactly what is the story? What should the story be that I'm delivering that's going to generate all this excitement? And then number three, how exactly should I implement that? So let's start with who. Who is going to help me finish up big? Well, first question really is how many, because most of us that have been in the business of wholesaling have too many people. We have hundreds and hundreds of clients, maybe thousands of clients. And the question is, how many of them can really participate in this? Here's my suggestion. If you want to really focus on year end, it can't be everybody. It can't even be a lot of people. So who should it be? Well, with very rare exceptions, it's going to be people who have already done business, of course, unless someone is right at the verge of jumping into it with a big push. So it's going to be people who have done business, not so much prospects here at the end of the year as existing people who have done some business. But the question is how many? I wouldn't have a push that involved 100 people or even 50 people. You know what I'd do? I'd start with a list of 50. And the way I would get people onto that list is I would look at my producers for the year, everyone that has done some business, and I ask myself this question: who on this list is likely to do the most business right now? Not later on. Some of these people on this list are going to be huge next year, but not right now, right? So what's your best guess? You look at that list of your entire database of producers. Who is likely to do the most right now? Narrow it down to 50. And then when you're done with that, get really serious about this. Get really serious. And narrow it down to about 25 people. Because the fact is, highly likely that most of your business that gets done in this last quarter will be done by less than 25 people. And you'd like to guess who they are right now. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to ignore the rest of your book, that you're going to ignore the ordinary business that you have. No, I'm not suggesting that. This is a question of focus. Who are the people that you believe are really going to do it right now? They're really going to have to start doing this business in the next few weeks because you need to get these trades processed and get them in before December 31st. So this is not someone that has a big future next year. This is someone that has a big future right now. Narrow it down. Give about 25 people or so. And then the question is, what are you going to use that's going to generate the excitement? How many ideas? What's your strategy? Well, of course, first of all, it's going to be an idea that makes sense, that will be a quick implementing idea. This can't be some sort of estate planning, advanced estate planning idea that you're going to take through attorneys or CPAs or something. Obviously, it has to be something that they could do right now, that they could go into the book, pull the trigger right now. So what do you have for an idea like that? You have some right now. You have probably a half dozen ideas, maybe more than that. My suggestion is this. You boil it down to the single most powerful idea that you have. One idea. Not three, not five, but one idea. I'm not suggesting that you don't have more or that you shouldn't use more, but for the year-end push, there should be one thing that generates excitement that you're going and talking to your people about. If for some reason that one thing does not resonate, doesn't excite that person, you have another, right? You do have another. I know that you do. So, but you want to start with one. This is one simple idea, very, very simple. You know, our business is very complex business. A lot of moving parts, a lot of the products and services are complex. This needs to be a simple idea, an idea that is repeatable. So an idea that you can show this advisor that they can immediately turn around and show a client. So without a lot of research, without a lot of study and effort, this needs to be really simple. Quite likely it's going to be a conceptual idea. It'll be told at a concept level, right? So one simple, repeatable idea. And you take that idea and you really focus on those top 25 people. So this may possibly mean interrupting your territory management a little bit, because you do want to get in front of these 25 people as soon as you can, right? Because you only get 90 days to do this. So if you have a territory where it's likely these people are scattered about a little bit, you may not get to some of them until after Thanksgiving, perhaps you ought to adjust it a little bit. Perhaps you should adjust it because you want to squeak out a lot of business from a small number of big hitters quickly. You've got to go out and see them. Got to go out and see them, and get face to face, and bring that excitement about this year-end idea. The real question here is, how do you make it happen with this idea? How do you get them excited about doing this right now and doing it in size? Well, number one, bring this to them not as an idea, but as a solution. Everyone has an idea. Every wholesaler that is working today has an idea. Actually, they have 3 or 5 or 7. You know, when I was a wholesaler, in the early years, I was pretty good at it. I was top wholesaler in a big insurance company. But I went for a while with the thinking that I should have at least 3 ideas to present on every single appointment. And it worked, but I have to tell you, it worked a lot better when I came in with one idea. One simple one. I always had more, but it was one that I was going to talk about, right? So I would bring that idea not simply as a sales idea, but as a solution. Here's what I mean by that. If you come in and you say, morning, George, nice to see you, and you've got your small talk, whatever it is. Hey, look, I got a great idea for you. I'd like to show you. It's going to help you do some business here for year end. That is so ordinary. That is exactly what the last wholesaler said. Exactly. It would be much better to bring this idea to help them make a year-end push, but in response to their need. So I would ask them some questions. I would ask them questions about their year-end and what they're up against to make the year-end happen. So it might go something like this. It might go, so George, how's it going? Pretty good year so far, huh? Well, yeah, it's been okay. It's been good. Yeah. So, hey, let me ask you this question. Now, this is you asking an advisor some questions, all right? Let me ask you this question. You've had a decent year. What would it take to have a huge year? What would it take so that by the time December 31st came around, you were really excited because you had a great year? What has to happen? Well, your advisor is going to say something like, well, you know, I mean, to end up really big, I've got to do another 10 cases of what I've been working on here. I got to do 10 more. Or I've got to bring in another, another $20 million to end up big. Or they may say, well, you know, for me to end up big, really, if I could just move, if I could just transfer about $5 million from here to over there, I would end up big. I'd end up big. So first, you ask them a question. What has to happen for their year end to be big? And then they'll tell you. They'll tell you. And now, most importantly, you'll ask them the question, what's the obstacle? What are you up against to make this happen? What's the hard part about pulling that off? You know? And they will give you some kind of obstacle. So you may say, well, Bill, let's see, if you want to bring in another $10 million in mutual funds between now and the end of the year, I'm sure you got some strategies to do that. What's the hardest part of doing that? I mean, what could keep you from hitting those numbers? What could keep you from being successful there? And they'll tell you. Now, you may or may not have a direct answer for that, but a lot of times you'll have an answer, and the answer will be, in one fashion or another, what you're going to, your idea. Your idea will fit in here in some way. So they may say, for example, well, you know, I could bring in the 10 million, or I've got some people I'm working on. The problem I'm finding is a lot of people, it looks like they're going to do the business soon, but, you know, it's not as easy as it used to be. People are indecisive, you know, and they're worried about elections, they're worried about the debt crisis in Europe. You know, I'm having a little trouble moving people forward. If I could just get them off the dime, get them to make a decision, you know, then I could perhaps pull it off. I could pull it off. Well, this is what you want to know. As a wholesaler, this is what you want to know. What is it that they need in order to have a big year end? Hopefully, you're equipped to address that. And you may perhaps have ideas on closing. You may have ideas on relationship building where you can help them get close enough to these people to pull it off, right? If you don't, well, then you really should, right? Shouldn't you be able to help people close? I think you should. And the same with relationships. I mean, it's all relationships these days, isn't it? So perhaps you ought to be able to help them do that. And so if you can, then you do it. But in any case, somewhere in this conversation, you bring up this idea, and it's going to be shown essentially as a solution to the dilemma, right? And the idea can't come from you, not really. It comes from someone else. It comes from some advisor who is successfully doing this. Now, I'm not suggesting you make up the idea. It's quite likely you have an advisor who is reaching a high level of success doing this somewhere, and you're seeing it, you're noticing that, and you're bringing it to your friend here to help them. So you will tell the story about the success that's happening elsewhere. When you do this, always use a name, a place, and a time. That's important. A name, a place, and a time. And you know, it doesn't even have to be someone in your territory. It can be a client in another territory who works with one of your wholesaler friends. It doesn't have to be someone specifically right in town that they know that's doing this. So here it is. It may be something like this. You know, I understand what you're saying about people having difficulty with decisions these days. It's true. I'm hearing it everywhere. You're not the only one that's having trouble pushing people across the finish line these days. But you know, I ran into something, I don't know if this would be helpful, I think it might. I ran into something about 2 months ago down in Lexington. And this is an advisor I've been working with on and off for years. And typically she does about $1 million a year. You know, she's a pretty good producer, she's got a good business, kind of like you. Business is somewhat like yours. The only difference is she doesn't do the 401k stuff, but just like you, she's 15 years and she's a real pro, you know. But a couple of months ago, I noticed that all of a sudden there's a surge in business from her. All of a sudden, her rate is way up. You know, she's going to finish this year up big, probably 4 million or so. And so I went down. I was going down to see her anyway, and I went down and I asked her. I said, "Ellen, what's going on? where's all this money coming from? You know, I know you were having trouble, or at least it wasn't easy, you know, moving people. Suddenly we got a surge here. What's going on?" And so here's what she told me. What she told me is that she changed the language that she was using with people. You know, she changed the way she was talking to people, and that is, she spent more time in a conceptual mode and less time in the spreadsheets and the detail mode. You know, I mean, she's still compliant, of course. She's very careful and smart. She makes sure she covers the details, but her basic presentation is very conceptual. So I asked her, how does that work? Give me a feel. And she showed me the basic outline of the way that she talks to people. And she said business is so much easier, you know. So I mean, it's working for her. I've shared it with a couple of other people, and it kind of loosens things up. It just makes it easier for people to move forward. They just have a sense of confidence. That is, the clients have a sense of confidence when they have this conversation with you. They just feel better about things. So it's a simple conceptual overview, really, of financial planning, if you will. And then within that, she talks about the investment that she's working on at that time. But it shows as a piece of a big picture. And she said when people have comfort with the big picture, it's much easier for them to move forward. So if you like, I'll show you how that works. And maybe it'll help you have a big year end, you know? Maybe it'll help you. So it could be something like that. In any case, the point that I'm making here is that your idea should come as some kind of a solution to a problem they have. It's so much different, isn't it? I mean, if you just walk in with an idea and you say, "Hey, George, here's an idea for you. I got a good idea for you." Here you go. And they say, "Well, that's great. Thank you for that idea. You know, I've only got 10 from last week, and I get that stack over there, and I just got 4 more in my email here." And it's just another idea. Solutions, different. A solution is much different. I need solutions. I may or may not need ideas, but I do need solutions. I sure do. I need them. So bring out your idea as a solution, and then assuming it generates some excitement. And by the way, I don't have the idea for you because your idea is dependent upon your business and what you do and how you do it. You get the idea already. It's not that you're lacking the idea. Make sure you bring it as a solution. Now, when you bring it out, let's assume that they like the idea and they say, "Hey, that's a good idea. I think I'll try it." It's very important now. Very important to get some commitment here. You got to move quickly. You've got to move quickly, and you need commitment. Now, I believe you should always get commitment. Advisors have to know what's expected of them. You know, when I was an advisor, I had wholesalers that came in. This was before I really understood wholesaling, right? Wholesalers would come in and give me whatever story they had. And many times I thought that their job was simply to keep me up to date. You know, here's our new brochure, and here's what we think about the debt crisis. You know, if you need us, give us a call. I thought they were servicing me in the sense they were keeping me up to date sometimes. That's not the business we're in. You know, we're not in the keeping up to date business. We're in the asset gathering business. And they need to know that that's why you're there. You're there to help them, yes, to help them have a big year end. But in order to do that, aren't you going to have to gather some assets, right? So you need a commitment from these people. So I would ask that question. So Bill, what do you think? Does this make sense? George, I suppose I was interviewing George, wasn't I? What do you think? Is this something that'll help you bring in that $10 million? Because if it is, I'll work with you and we'll make it happen. I know you've got other things you're working on. Will this help you get to where you want to go? How do you feel about it? And they may say, well, yeah, I think I can work with this. I think I can work with this. So I'll tell you what. I know you're working with some other things. How about this? How about we commit, you and I, to trying to do at least $5 million with this specific idea. I know that we could do that if you want to. And I want to know if you want me to commit to helping you for $5 million. And if you do, I will. And the two of us will work toward that. Does that make sense for the year-end push here for you or not? Because we'll make it happen if you want to do it. So you've got to get an answer here. I mean, if you think that's pushy, maybe it is. I don't know. And maybe you can reword that so it's more comfortable for you. But you do have to get some kind of an answer. You have to know if this person's on the team, right? And maybe they're not on the team. Maybe they'll do it next year. And they may say to you, you know, I like this, but I got so much going on right now. I'm not sure that I can. And you can say, well, that's fine. That's fine. I'll help you nonetheless, and we'll do what we can. And you continue to do business with that person if they're a good producer, right? You'll continue. But they're not on the team for the top 25 because they didn't commit to making a real concentrated push right now, right? So you want to ask for a commitment. And once you have a commitment, if they say, you know something, you're right, I could do this, then you help them find the people that fit. When I say find the people, I mean literally get the names. You know, if you're in a business where you use hypotheticals or illustrations of some sort, if you give this idea, you're going to solve this problem, you're going to have a big year-end push, you give this idea, and then you don't find a name, you didn't get it done. You were just having a chat. You know, you were just having a chat. Maybe you were in a hypothetical that said valued client, right? $100,000 valued client. There is no valued client. That person doesn't have a checkbook. You know, that's theory. You can't base your year-end push on theory. You have to base your year-end push on human beings that have money and a need, right? So let's find them. Let's find the people. So we'll assume now that they like the idea, they're ready to move forward, they've committed, yeah, you know what, let's try and do that. Let's see if we can do that. And now you say, well, look, let's find some of the folks that we'll get started on. So do me a favor, go to your computer and pull up such and such a screen. You should know their software. You should know how to find people in there. Now maybe your idea is such that you can generate the money from the existing book. It really should be that way primarily. So the dollars are already sitting there, they just have to be transferred. Now, maybe it'll be new money, but it can't be all new money, I wouldn't think, because you've only got 90 days. It may be that they have a new client coming in next week and one the following week, and that'll do it, perhaps. But it's even better if this idea can work with their existing book, right? Because they've got the assets, they've got $100 million sitting there in one fashion or another. So you'd like to be able to go into that book and find those dollars and recommend, if it's appropriate, of course, if it's compliant and appropriate, recommend that those portfolios get adjusted, right? So I was an advisor for 10 years and we never sold things and bought things in the same portfolio. You wouldn't say, sell this to buy that. No, we made portfolio adjustments. It was so much easier. And that's exactly what you're doing, actually, isn't it? So here's an example. You ask them to go on and look at bonds that are maturing in the month of October, for example. Do you have any bonds maturing this month? And they may go into the computer, look it up, and boom, there they are. There's $800,000 worth of bonds that mature in the month of October. Well, something has to happen. That has to be adjusted. They can't just mature and the money sits there, generally speaking, it'll need to go to some new place. And it's perhaps true that those dollars are appropriate for your idea. So those $800,000 is 3 different clients. Now you have names. You have names, you have dollar amounts, you have an idea, and now you're ready to go. You're ready to go, except you want to be sure that this advisor can present your story and present it well. So here's what you got to do. You have to literally give them the words to say. Role play it with them. Give them the words to say. The very first wholesaler that I traveled with was a fellow who was about to retire. He was 52 at the time. He didn't need to work anymore. This was maybe 1990, something like that. And he told me that one of the reasons for his success is that he always told the advisors exactly what to say to their clients. And this is the point he made. His name's Mike Whitaker. He made this point. He said, they could figure it out, perhaps, and they may, but they quite likely don't have time right now to put together a new sales presentation. They're not going to think that through right now. They could, but more likely what will happen is the client comes in, sits down, they will revert to what's easier, and that is whatever they're doing right now. And they have an idea right now that they're showing people and getting some sales with it. That's what they're going to do. They haven't figured your idea out yet. They haven't quite decided how to position your idea. So they're going to fall back to what they're already doing. You have to get that idea in their brains so they know exactly what to say when people come. So work with that. Give them specific words, phrases. Show them how to structure it. It should be real simple. It should be 5-10 minute story, easy, repeatable. They know exactly what to do. And now finally, you're almost done. You're almost done, right? You got the right person. You have the single repeatable idea. They know what to say. They know who to say it to. They've got the person's name. And now you're about ready to leave. Question is, did you close? Did you close? Well, and you couldn't get a check right then, could you? Because the client wasn't there. It's just not the nature of the business. You don't usually get a check. So, what constitutes a close in this circumstance? What constitutes a close for wholesalers generally? I wish it would be more, but generally we don't get a check where we can say, that's a close. You know, that's not the way it works. Minimally, you have to be able to say who does what by when. So when you go out, you get in your car, you look in the mirror, ask yourself the question, did I close? The way you ask that question is, do I know who does what by when? And does George know who does what by when? So something like this. We finish it up. We're talking about client, Mr. McGillicuddy. And so we say to the advisor, so look, here's what I'll do. I will get that illustration to you. You'll have it this afternoon. I'm going to give you a call tonight, just before you head out of the office, or tomorrow morning really early, just for a couple of minutes, because I want to point out 1 or 2 things on that illustration that you'll get. Is that okay? So I'll get it to you this afternoon. I'll call you at the latest tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there. When do you expect to be able to see the McGillicuddys? And they'll say, well, I'm hoping by the end of next week. I should be able to get them in here by the end of next week. Okay. So now, look at, they know you're going to do something. They know when you're going to do it. You know that they are going to receive your call, discuss this, and present it to McGillicuddys next week. So at least you've got some indication of how we're moving forward with this. Right? So that's it. That's my idea for a year-end push. It's very focused, very, very focused on the right people, on a singular, strong idea, and on specificity. That is, finding the people with the dollars and agreeing to move forward with those people. No general ideas here, no theories. We don't have time for theories. We don't have time for big picture concepts, ideas about what might work in the sales process. No, no, no. We have to nail this now, this quarter, and we're in it. We're in it. So I hope that you're able to use this and finish up big. In any case, either way, if you have interest in other videos of this nature or more helpful information for wholesalers, go ahead on this website. You may have come from the website, but if not, go to my website at thealphainstitute.net, and there's a section in there specifically for wholesalers to help you get to the next level. Thanks for watching.